I really enjoyed the film and the ideas behind it. I personally think that this movie represented disability much better than Me Before You, as we had seen earlier in the semester. I wouldn't say that any parts of the movie surprised me particularly, but I really enjoyed the character of Trevor, being a typical smart-ass teenager with his own personal desires, which is unlike many other movies that reflect disability. Additionally, I really enjoyed how the film did not have a heroic, inspirational twist or a sad one in which the boy dies at the end. It really reflected the life of this boy and how you have to accept yourself and circumstances to continue being happy. There were many times where common stereotypes are portrayed throughout the film. In the very beginning of the film, for example, when we are introduced to the main character, Trevor, he acts as though he cannot talk and screams to intimidate his potential caregiver, Ben. Stereotypes are also seen when meeting Dot, the young girl on the side of the road, and Trevor has this idea, of course, that because he is disabled, he cannot have any sort of love life or potential to flirt with her. Additionally, throughout the entire film, there is the overarching idea about getting this boy Trevor up and out of his home because he lives through his TV. He doesn't think that he can travel and go anywhere, like every other person in the world, because of his disability. It represented the idea that he could not do everyday activities like leaving the house because he was disabled. On the lines of oppression and privilege, there is a scene where they go to see the world's biggest cow. However, it is not accessible to Trevor. The scene goes on with Ben sort of freaking out on the owner that every single person should have the opportunity to see the cow, whether or not they are able to walk. You see the men carry him in his wheelchair up the stairs to see the cow for a couple seconds, then only to leave. But the idea behind this scene is that everyone should be able to do what they want and not be limited to that if they are different. It wasn't about actually seeing the cow, it was about having the ability to go and see it because he has the right to, and the business was not allowing him to do that. You can see this in everyday lives of people as well. In my opinion, ways that today's society could eliminate stereotyping and oppression of people with disabilities is to just listen to them. Let them tell their own personal story to you so that you are able to understand where they come from. It is also important for society to start accepting and understanding that people with disabilities are just like us. We need to begin moving away from the idea that people with disabilities deserve pity or are unable of living a productive life. I personally think that this film does a strong job of portraying disability. It shows that people with disabilities are able to do everything that able-bodied people do, they just might need extra assistance here and there. It's important to see and understand people with disabilities are limited by the society around them, not as individuals themselves, and we as the people need to acknowledge that, to make changes and move away from the negative stigma around disabled people. I think people would benefit from seeing this film because although there are stereotypes within it, the film tends to challenge those stereotypes. Having a main character that acts as a typical teenager and whose caregiver does not allow him to live in pity and get out of his house to fulfill his life wishes all aid in this idea.